men's extra large.
Oh my gosh, I am a raccoon.
La da 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 da. It's hot.
No, it isn't.
Here we go.
3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Gracegate!
Your hand was in my face.
Today, the announcements are brought to you by Molly, Maddie,
And Kalia.
Thrive. Head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. Head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. Arms and knees. That started on Monday, but if you haven't joined yet, then you can join on Monday, like next Monday.
Then again, it would be only a 5-week challenge, but who cares? It'll still be fun and you will be supporting
BG! Yay! Or as Josh says, Fijometry.
Fijometry.
Yeah.
Oh, I love Fijometry.
So the gala is coming up!
Rio Royale! Dun 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 dun.
Like the movie? Wait, is it called Rio?
Rio, yeah.
Yeah, the movie with the
Have you seen
birds.
them?
This year we are selling early bird tickets. It's funny because like Rio's about birds, which will be cheaper. And like the parking. Sorry.
If you pay by the 25th of June,
Before the 25th of June, you get it for $30, but
111.
but if you get it after the 25th of June,
It will
$40.
be $40. 1, 2, 3. I got it right.
Maths is everywhere! Children's ticket, 10 and under, are $10. Only $10.
$10.
Yes. I can't. Fuel's happening this weekend! Make sure you're here at 6:30 for fuel.
Is that AM or PM?
PM! Okay, so this is a dedication to Wiz.
Yay!
Lovely Wiz, okay?
We heart you.
There was a moose. There was a moose. You like to drink a lot of juice. You like to drink a lot of juice. There was a moose. There was a moose. You like to drink a lot of juice. You like to drink a lot of juice. Away, 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 away.
We heart you, Wiz.
I just did 2,000 steps. So, on Tuesdays, we do dance classes.
With Bree Gentry.
Go
5 to 10. Go from 4:15 to 5.
And then 10 to around about 16. Go from 5 to 5:45.
5:45.
There is so much more. Cut that out, please. Please cut that out, Rudy.
So on Wednesday at Spark, Ross will be doing the youth mentor training. Training.
Spark crew, be there. It's gonna be fun.
When we say training, do you mean workout training or just like mental training?
Like mental training,
You'll
like
get
becoming a mental
mentor.
training. I don't know. For more information,
Go to
www.gracegate.org.nz. We hope you enjoy the program and we hope to see you again next weekend.
And there's delicious food in the gym after the service, and it's pasta.
And if you enjoyed Maddie being here for the first time, give her a hug.
What about me?
And but you've done it. Anyway, give her a hug too. And give her a hit in the face with a pillow. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, let's do our dance now.
I got a tail!
I'm sorry you guys had to see that. Someone was supposed to break it to him before all of this, so maybe we should give him a hand just so he feels better. All right, well, I have some exciting news. Yesterday, we finished the 5th of our young teenage parents course, so that deserves a hand. And I'd like to invite Fani and Catherine and Alexa and Carissa to come forward and join me. Let's give them a hand, guys. Come on. Well, these are three of our lovely young mums who have joined us in this last course, and they all graduated yesterday, and they've enjoyed it so much they decided that they'd come and share a little bit about themselves with you guys, just in case you haven't had the opportunity to catch up with them over the last 4 months. So, first up, let's find out a little bit about yourselves. So you guys can tell us your name, about your kids, maybe something interesting like where you're from, something like that. So first up, Catherine.
Hi everyone, my name is Catherine and I have a little boy called Elijah and he is 14 months. I'm born in the Philippines but raised in New Zealand, in the Waikato. Something interesting. My son loves to run away when I change his nappies. Yeah.
Awesome, thanks. I'm sure there's a lot of parents who can relate to that. And Alexa, do you want to tell us a bit about yourself and your son? That's all right. You want to tell us what your son's name is?
My son's name's Kola.
Excellent. And how old is he?
He's almost 18 months.
Awesome. And do you want to tell us something interesting about yourself?
About myself.
Yep. Or about Kola?
I don't know. Kind of like nervous right now.
That's okay. You can pass it to Fani. Oh, she's got a mic. You can.
Hi everyone. My name is Fanny and I have a little beautiful girl. Her name is Caroline and she's 15 months and I'm a Tongan. And my daughter, she's love playing with me every time. Yeah.
Awesome. And she's joining us too. And she's been heaps of fun to have on the course. So next question I have for you guys is how long was the course and what was your favourite thing on the course so far?
The course was 4 months and my favourite thing would be probably Beauty Day. Something that, because I don't really pamper myself, so that was something that was just, out of the blue and I could just relax for one day while my kid was at daycare and it was really relaxing. They did my hair and my makeup and then we got photos taken by Rudy, so thank you Rudy.
Alexa, what about you? What was the favourite thing on the course for you?
Well, everything was pretty much awesome, like just meeting everyone, like the staff, the other mothers.
Yeah.
And yeah, Carissa's been a lovely woman to me.
Nice. Okay, Fani, how about you? What was your favourite thing of the course?
I have two favorite things.
I think you need to speak loud in here because can't hear you.
I have two favorite things I like at the course. But I like play and stay because I have lots of time with my kids. And the beauty day, that's my first time I wear makeup.
Right.
And I'm very happy because I look pretty after doing a makeup.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
And that was so awesome to see. They all got their hair done, their makeup. They came and got some awesome photos, which they got to keep and take home and just have a day feeling special. So that was really cool to be a part of. You all looked beautiful. So the last thing I have for you is what piece of advice did you learn on the course that is going to stick with you now that you're finished?
My piece of advice would be always accept yourself and your natural beauty because that's all that matters.
That's awesome. Alexa, what is a piece of advice that you learnt or something Carissa told you or that someone said to you that's going to stick with you now?
Just like, because I live on my own, it's real hard to like do everything. So like, just be patient and I don't know, like, yeah, just be patient with my son because like I'm doing it on my own. It's stressful and not much help because everyone works and stuff. Yeah, just be patient.
That's cool. And I've seen her with her son, and she's super patient with him, and she's such a good mum. So it's been awesome that she's got to learn that as well, and she's putting it into practice already. And Fani, how about you? What's a piece of advice you can take from the course?
I'm just saying, always keep smiling when you feel angry, because your kids can tell you when you are not when you're not happy, and yeah, and always put God first, because everything is possible if you put God first.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let's give them a hand, guys. Carissa, do you want to add some more about the course or about the graduation yesterday?
Graduation yesterday was awesome. It's actually really cool to see another mum sitting in the audience and the young guy. It's really a pleasure to get to know these young mums and just see where they are at and see how much they have grown. Like yesterday, we spoke about Catherine, how quiet she was, but man, she's not quiet anymore. She's like really flourished and yeah, they're all beautiful and I just love spending time with them and not just telling them about God, but actually just showing them that God is actually a really huge part of my life, my home, everything. Yeah, so I hope that that's what has come through every course that has happened here. Yeah, so.
Awesome. Thanks, Carissa. And we've also got Jess. She didn't come up today, but she graduated yesterday too, so that's cool. That's awesome. We're proud of you for that. These are the sort of things that the giving goes towards here that you guys support. This is the 5th course we've done, which is a big high, and we've got to meet some awesome young people and their kids, and they're still around, and we just want to say thank you to you guys for being a support for them and constantly encouraging. And so I just want to say a prayer for these guys and for Jess as well, so if you just bow your heads with me. God, we thank you so much for the opportunity that we have to be able to get involved in our community, and we thank you for this parenting course and the opportunity we've had to meet new people and the kids, and we just pray that you continue to help it to grow and bring the people here that we can be able to inspire them and show them a bit about you. We thank you for these lovely young women here who have completed their course, and we just pray that you help us as a church family to be able to continue to support them and continue to be able to give them all the encouragement they need as well. Amen. Thanks, God.
Don't you just feel like a gladiator when you watch that? Man, I'm like, man, and now I have to get up here and I'm already sweating and I'm like, nervous. Hope you guys have had a good week. Have you had a good week? Yes, that's good. My week's been pretty good. And if you're joining us for the first time, today, if this is your first time in church, basically we've been doing a series about this guy called Gideon. And today is the last time you're going to hear the story about Gideon. Have you enjoyed it? Yeah? Today I'm going to start off quickly with a bit of a recap. And then we're going to go through the last segment of Gideon and his life. And to help us do that, our team has designed this really awesome cartoon. And if we could hand that out right now, that would be awesome. Cool. So if you have missed any of the weeks and you know nothing about the story about this guy called Gideon, I'm going to quickly give you a recap and try and help you understand what the story is all about. And then we're going to go through the last segment of the story. Is that good? You guys awake today? Okay, I hope so. There's a bit of a crowd there in the middle. Cool. Okay. Today, the story started about Gideon. And if you look at the first picture, what do you see there? What is Gideon doing? What is he saying there? Who, me? Okay. And it's like mighty warrior. God calls Gideon and he says, hey, mighty warrior, I want to use you. And Gideon is this very insecure, timid guy. And he's like, why me? Why do you want to use me? I'm the weakest of my clan. Don't choose me. All right. However, awesome verse there. It says, go in this strength which is yours. God sort of gives him a few signs and he says, hey, I want you to go in this strength that is in you. All right. But Gideon's still like any human being, like all of us, continually not sure about our faith in God. And continually he is questioning his faith. And so he asks God for a sign. All right. And he asks God for a sign. And who knows what he's holding there in his hands? All right. It's a fleece. And he asks God, he says, hey, God, if you really want me to go and fight against the Midianites, if you really want me to lead the Israelites and go and fight against the army of Midianites, give me a sign and show me that this fleece, all right, if I leave it outside, it's going to be completely wet. The ground around is going to be completely dry. And he does that. And he says, oh, you know what, God, I need another sign. And he does it the next day. And the next day, the fleece is completely dry and the ground all around it is completely wet. And Gideon knows, hey, I can trust in God. God is calling me. So he says, okay, he calls the army. And there's a cool verse there. It says, the Lord said, Gideon, oh, that's the next part. He calls this massive big army and he gets all the men together. And who can tell me how many men does he have all together to go and fight? 300? Before 300, how many did he have? 30,000? 32,000. Yes, okay. He had 32,000 men against how many Midianites? Who knows? 135,000. And if you were here, you can maybe remember the boxes, all right? We did an illustration with these boxes, and we showed that, you know, it was an impossibility, all right? But God said, hey, your army's too big. And he specifically said it. He said, hey, your army's too big, Gideon, because if you take all those 32,000 and you go and fight against the Midianites and you win, which already seemed like an impossibility, then all the praise and all the glory is going to be on you and your army. And actually, I'm going to be helping you. So he reduces the numbers. The guys have to drink from the river, and those who lapped the water, those were the guys that God said, I want to use these guys. And there were only 300 men, all right? 300 men that were going to go into a battle against the Midianites, 135,000. And to be honest, it seemed like an impossibility. But last week, we saw, Norman shared with us sort of the voice and what these guys had. Their weapons, who can tell me what were these guys' weapons that they took? These 300 men. Who knows? Yeah? Horn or trumpet, yeah? And? Jars, okay? And just their torches, all right? That's all they had. And their voice, all right? And when they had a strategy that they'll split the army up in 3 different camps, they'll run down the hill, and they'll scream out and they'll shout out, hey, for the Lord and for Gideon, all right? And as they did this, they descended upon the Midianite camp, and they thought, you know, hey, this army is gigantic, and they began to kill themselves, all right? Literally kill each other, because they didn't want to be destroyed by Gideon and his army. Crazy story. Today we're going to pick it up to the end part of the story, and this is the most amazing part, because as Gideon and his army sort of descended down, all right, and they came across the Midianites, what do you think they saw? All right? They saw thousands of men dead, lying dead, all right? However, there was about 15,000, if I got it correctly, that fled, all right? And they fled with their 2 kings. And as they were fleeing and as they sort of retreated away from this camp, Gideon, all right, remember this guy, this insecure leader who God said, hey, you're a mighty warrior, I want to use you, decided, hey, you know what we're going to do? We're going to pursue these Midianites, all right? So him and his army, 300 of them, they pursued these 15,000, all right? Now I'm going to try and help you understand this last bit of the story. I don't know, these names are all weird, and take the time, if you have a Bible, to go and read it at home. It's found in Judges chapter 8. But this is the story, how it continues, all right? It says, Gideon's army, he continues to pursue the fleeing Midianites, led by their kings, Zebah and Zalmunna, right? I think that's it. I'm just going to call them the 2 Z's, all right? They pass through the towns of Succoth and Peniel, and both refuse to give food to Gideon's army. Gideon's going through these 2 towns, and he says, hey, I've got 300 men. They're hungry. Please, can you give these guys some bread and some water? They're hungry, they're thirsty, and both of these towns say no. So Gideon, we would think, who was this, this insecure leader, sort of retreats and says, oh, that's okay, we'll just go past. But no, this time, this is what he says. He says, hey, because you have said you're not going to give me any bread or water for my army, I'm going to go and I'm going to pursue these 2 Z kings. And as I pursue them and as I capture them, once I've captured them, I'm going to come past these towns, all right? And I'm going to, literally, it says here, I'm going to beat you with thorns and thistles, all right? In other words, I'm just going to, what's the word I'm looking for? Torture, all right? I'm going to torture you guys. So that's exactly what happens. Gideon and his army go, they pursue these kings, they capture these 2 Z kings, they come back past, and as they come back past through these 2 towns, the first town, he literally takes thorns and thistles, tortures all these men, all right? He goes to the next town, he tears down one of the towers there, and then he kills all the men of the city, all right? And seriously, don't mess with Gideon, all right? He's on a rage here. And then he gets to these 2 Z kings, and he sort of finds out that these guys actually also killed some of his family, and therefore he challenges his son. He says, hey, to his younger son, he says, hey, I want you to actually kill these 2 kings. And his son's, the small young man, he says, no, I'm not going to. And then Gideon goes and he destroys these 2 kings. Crazy story, right? About Gideon, this insecure, very shy, I guess, why do you want to use me, God, to this literally, if you look at that 300 trailer, you can see this mighty warrior pursuing and just trusting God. The story then goes, and this is where I want to stop at today, and I want us to all understand. I just wanted to give you context. But then the story goes to the last part of Judges 8. And to me, this is the most amazing part of the whole story because it's so human. It's so who we are. It's so how we can relate. If you're a Christian or if you're not a Christian, you can relate with this topic today because it haunts all of us. It captures us at some point in our life. And at some stage in your life, maybe today, tomorrow, or whenever, you're going to face this. And if we don't kill this, it's going to kill us. All right. So this is Judges 8, verse 22 and 24, and it's up there. This is what happens. So Gideon's destroyed these kings. He's conquered all the Midianites, just like God said he would. And then in verse 22, this is what happens. The Israelites said, hey, Gideon, rule over us, you and your son and your grandson. You've saved us from the Midianites, and now we want to make you king. Gideon, rule over us. Gideon responds and he says, I most certainly will not rule over you, nor will my son, but God will reign over you. And I love that part. I love that part because it shows Gideon here is like, he's doubting God the whole time, like many of us doubt God. Is he true? Is he going to lead me? Is he going to be behind me when I'm going through and I'm facing these impossibilities? Is God going to be there for me? He's questioning. He's got all these questions, and he comes to the end of the story, and everyone's sort of saying, man, you're a mighty warrior, Gideon. We want you to lead us now. We want you to be our king. And he says, hey, no, it's not about me. It's got absolutely nothing to do with me, but actually God will rule over you. He's the king. Isn't that awesome? The story finished there. It would be really cool. He'd be one of the most prestigious, stories in the Bible, a man who pursued God, and when God gave him the right answers straight away, he'd be like, man, I just want to worship God, and he was this humble guy. But unfortunately, there's a but, all right? Then Gideon said, but, we know what buts do, right? But I do have one request. Other translations actually picture it as Gideon literally begging the Israelites, literally begging them. It says, but I do have one request. Give me, each of you, an earring that you took as plunder, right? And the Ishmaelites wore gold earrings, and the men all had their pockets full of them, right? So through their battles, they had gained all this jewelry and all these gold earrings. And he says, hey, I just have one request, okay? I don't want to be your king, but just give me some gold earrings, all right? Give me some gold earrings. Give me some of your valuable stuff. Obviously, they said, of course. They're yours, Gideon. Take it. So they spread out a blanket, and each man threw his plundered earrings on it. The gold earrings that Gideon had asked for weighed about 43 pounds, and that didn't include the crescents and pendants, the purple robes worn by the Midianite kings, and the ornaments hung around the necks of their camels, all right? Gideon made the gold into a sacred ephod and put it on display in his hometown, Ophrah. All Israel prostituted. Repeat after me. Prostituted itself there. Gideon and his family too were seduced by it. If you missed all of that, I'll quickly give it to you again. Gideon says, no, I'm not going to be your king. God's going to rule over you. But just one thing. There's just one thing I want. Give me just, one earring. All the earrings that you, just give me some of that. He takes all these earrings and he sort of makes the sacred ephod, which is like the high priests. They were the guys who sort of were closest to God. He makes this high priest garment that sort of they robe that he'd wear, and he makes this out of this gold. And literally what happens is this becomes actually an ornament and actually a place where all the Israelites start to reflect on. They lose focus of God and they start to worship. And as the word says, they're prostituted. They actually sold themselves for this wealth, for this gold. Gideon and his family too were seduced by it. The rest of the story goes that Gideon had many wives and concubines, and he died a good old age. That's the end of the story. It's interesting for me that the story of Gideon is actually just so human. It's just so like each and every one of us here at church. That there are times in our life when we're just like, man, yeah, for God and for Gideon, and we're going to battle, and if there's any obstacle in front of us, we can, conquer it, and we can get over it because we know God has given us the sign. And even there's this thing of humility that Gideon even gives you, and he's like, hey, no, don't make me your king. I mean, God's your king, but, And this but is this word that separates us from God and from other people. And it's something called pride. If you're tapping the person next to you, you're like, yeah, this is for you. This is something that each and every one of us at some stage in our life, even today, have to continuously fight against. If you don't understand what pride is, it keeps you from celebrating other people's successes. It keeps you from apologizing even though you know you were wrong. Don't you just hate those times when you know you're wrong, but you just definitely do not want to apologize? It's the one thing that makes you continually argue your point even after you realize that you don't even have one. Has that happened to you before? It keeps you from admitting loss. I do that often, man. Often. It keeps you from admitting that you actually need help. It keeps you from being honest with yourself. It keeps you from learning new things because you want the people around you to think that you know everything. I actually experienced it this week. There were a few people who came over for dinner at my house, and we were playing this game, 30 Seconds. I don't know if you guys have ever played it. A lot of South Africans would have. But it's you get a card, and you've got 30 seconds that you've got to try and explain these words on the card without saying these words, okay? And they got to guess the correct answer. And often, man, I do this, and I don't know any famous movie stars or actors or something, and the one word on this week was something like, I don't know, who was it? Like Van Gogh or, do you know, Shay? Yeah, something like that. Anyway, I thought it's some artist or something. And then at the end of the time, you do the reveal, and everyone's like, who was that? Who was that? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm explaining some artist the whole time, and they look at the card, and it's like, that's a movie actor. So it's a really good game to play, especially if you don't know a lot of like things, and it just sort of, lets you just realize you can still be a humble person. You don't know everything. That's what pride does. It's what causes you to feel good when other people fail. It's what causes you to power up when you should be actually opening up. It's what causes you to cheat when you know that you're about to lose. It causes you to have the final word. It causes you to buy things to impress people who aren't even paying attention to you. That's pride. That's the but. And the thing about this pride is that it literally separates us from relationship with God. It separates us from relationship with people. I mean, all of us now, as I'm speaking now, you're thinking of someone, that person, who's just full of pride, right? You're thinking of that person. And who likes that person? No one likes that person. No one does. You crowd out people. You crowd out God, just like Gideon. His whole focus changed. It's interesting, as I was preparing, I was thinking, man, what story of pride can I tell? And I thought, and I thought, and I was like, man, I couldn't like really think of a good one to tell. And I literally even, I phoned my friends and I asked them, tell me some stories of pride. And I think they're hesitant to tell me, but I think if you know me, and most people, at some stage you will know that there is some pride in me, without a doubt. There is pride in you, but pride has this mask that like we can look at it in the mirror and we can't see it. Even though we know we're looking at in a mirror and we're in this room, and this room is on a ship, and this ship is actually heading for an iceberg that actually is going to cause a major shipwreck. But we look in that mirror and we can't see any of it. That's what pride does. It will destroy us. I can remember couple of years ago, maybe a lot more years ago now, but probably about when I was about 19 years old, I'd become sort of a fully devoted Christian, and I was really passionate about God, and I went to go and study in the States, and I did like a 5-month Bible course, and after that course, I came back to South Africa, and I was like, yeah, I'm it, man. I know most stuff about the Bible. And I was like, man, you can ask me a few questions about the Bible. I'll give you all the answers. And I can remember my friend and I, we worked together, and we were actually called, crazy name, but we were actually called Bible workers, all right? And our job was actually to connect with people and to actually study the Bible together. And I can remember one situation where we had to actually drive about 70 kilometers to another town. And we had a visitor family who had watched some DVDs, and they were curious. They were like, oh, what's Christianity all about? And, you know, we're trying to discover more. And me as a 19-year-old there with my friend who was also only 18, we said, hey, let's go and, you know, we'll study the Bible together. And we sat down in their home, and they had a whole list of questions. And we sort of thought, you know, that we knew all the answers. And what we thought was actually going to be a Bible study just ended up as a massive, big argument the whole time. I was saying, no, you guys are wrong. Like this is what the Bible says over here. And they'd say, no, but you're wrong. And we'd say, no. And I can remember traveling from that house and even having a conversation with my friends saying like, man, how can they miss it? How can they get it so wrong? Meantime, now when I reflect back, I think to myself, how could I get it so wrong? Because I thought, if I knew so much about God, obviously I'd be connected so well to Him, but actually, a knowledge about God never actually brought me into a close relationship with God. It's like, I can know all the stats about the Australian cricket team and all the knowledge about them, but man, that's not going to make me like them. Definitely. Pride. It separates us from God. It separates us from relationship with others. Hundreds of years ago, a father would stand with his son and he'd say, hey, I want you to just look up into the sky. And you see all the stars and all the planets. And I want you to know, son, that we, as the earth, are the center of the universe. This is what all human beings believed. We thought without a doubt, we are the center of the universe, and everything else rotates around us. Everything else moves around us, but we just stand still because we're it. It was only later when Copernicus and Galileo started asking questions like, hey, well, what happens, when you're sailing in the ship and it's going to go over the earth? Like, what happens to the ship? And why are there seasons? Why do the seasons keep changing? And slowly but surely people, started wondering a bit more, but others just kept rejecting it and be like, no, it's impossible. We, the planet Earth, are the center of the universe. Everything rotates around us. We all know that they discovered then that, hey, actually, the sun is the center of the universe. And actually, we, the earth, are actually just another planet rotating around the sun. sometimes in our own journey, we got to discover and we got to figure out and we got to find out that, hey, life isn't about me. It's not about me. We've been created for a cause. And actually, that cause is the Son. It's Jesus Christ. When I think about church, when I think about, Gracegate, and it's quite funny, the guys are always, joking around about Caesar. I don't know who Caesar is at Gracegate. But one thing I think of is that as a church, if we get this wrong, we've missed the whole point of what it means to follow Jesus. As a church, I want you guys to know that week in and week out, like you can see the stuff that is created here. You can see the setup. You can see the graphics. Aren't those announcement videos awesome? They are so good. Like when you look at those pamphlets that you have in your hand now, that is specially designed. All right, that is created. All this stuff. I mean, church, it doesn't just happen, but it actually takes people. It takes a team, it takes staff who get together, who think, who brainstorm, who come together and plan everything out, and then we do church. But if we sway that and we look at ourselves and we say, hey, well, aren't we a great staff team? We've missed the point. Church, without our volunteers, nothing would get done here. Every week, they're literally, I would say almost hundreds, but I mean, the place is packed with people who come in here and volunteer and serve this place so that we can impact more people's lives. Everything doesn't just happen. But if we miss that and we look at ourselves and we say, wow, aren't we great? We've missed everything. The whole purpose of this place, of Gracegate, is not to point to Gracegate and say, wow, that's an awesome place. Well, wow, those are awesome people. But actually, the core of it is to point to a God, to point to a Jesus who loves us, who cares for us. Our whole vision here is to share God's love and saving grace so that people can become fully devoted followers of Wesley. Right? No, please don't. You're going to make all the mistakes I do all the time. But it's to become fully devoted followers of Jesus. Well, why Jesus? I want to tell you why. In Philippians 2, it gives us a picture of who Jesus is and why he came to this earth and how he just totally changed everything. When society was all about themselves, when society was all me-centric, Jesus came and changed it up and he said, hey, it's got nothing to do with me. In Philippians, Paul writes this, he says, if you've gotten anything out of following Christ, if his love has made any difference in your life, if being in a community of the Spirit means anything to you, if you have a heart, if you care, then do me a favor. Agree with each other. Love each other. Be deep-spirited friends. Don't push your way to the front. Don't sweet-talk your way to the top. Put yourself aside and help others get ahead. Don't be obsessed with getting your own advantage. Forget yourselves long enough to lend a helping hand. And then he goes on and he describes it like this. He says, think of yourselves the way Christ, Jesus, thought of himself. He had equal status with God, but he didn't think so much of himself that he had to cling to the advantages of that status no matter what. Yeah, he gives us, Jesus had all the right to be crowned as king and to be, glorified. He had all the right. But he came to serve. When the time came, he set aside the privileges of deity and took on the status of a slave. He became human. Having become human, he stayed human. It was an incredible, humbling process. It was an incredibly humbling process. He didn't claim special privileges. Instead, he lived a selfless, obedient life and then died a selfless, obedient death. And the worst kind of death at that, a crucifixion. The reason we exist has got nothing to do with us, but it's got everything to do with God. It's got everything to do with Jesus. And the reason we exist should be the same mind that Jesus has, to serve others, to love others, to care for others. There's a story, and I shared this a few years ago. Some of you might know it, but there's a story about this frog. And this frog is living in the swamp, and there's drought that's going on in the swamp. And all of a sudden, the frog realizes, hey, I'm going to die if I don't make it to a different swamp because there's not enough water here for me to survive. But he knows the only other swamp is on the other side of the mountain, and he realizes this is going to be an impossibility for his puny little frog legs to jump all the way over the mountain and get to the other swamp. As he's sitting there and thinking how he's going to survive, his life counted on him getting to the swamp, and he sees these two storks chilling in the swamp, and he realizes, hey, you know what? I've got a plan. I've got an idea. If I go to these storks and I say, hey guys, this is my plan. I want you guys to grab with your claws a stick. I'm going to bite in the middle of that stick. Then I want you guys to fly me over the mountain to the other swamp, and then I'll survive. He thinks of this plan and he says, man, this is his only opportunity. He goes to the storks and he says, hey guys, this is my plan. Can you help me out? Can you help me, this little frog, out? So these two storks just chilling there. They must have been feeling good, They realized, hey, life's not about themselves. And they decided, hey, you know what? We're going to help you guys out. We're going to help you out, Mr. Frog. So the day came when he would now embark on his adventure to get over the mountain and into the other swamp. And he bites on the stick, and the two storks grab the stick and they fly him over. They leave the old swamp behind, and they're flying over the mountain, and he can already see the massive big swamp full of water way up ahead. He's so excited about it. And as they're flying over, they see two cows. And the two cows are just minding their own business, just chewing some grass there. But they look up and they see this. And the one cow says to the other, they say, man, I wonder whose idea that was. And the frog says, it was mine. The frog dies. It's the end of the story. It's funny, but that's exactly what pride does. If we don't kill it, it's going to kill us. And this morning, I want to ask you, why would you opt to follow something that is killing you when you've been invited to follow someone who died for you? The whole story of Gideon helps us understand who we are. It's such a real human story because it gives us clear picture of how we wrestle through life the whole time. How we're not sure, how our faith, is up sometimes, it's down sometimes. But the one constant we are guaranteed is that God is always there with him. But in the end of the day, the whole story has got nothing to do with Gideon, but it's got everything to do with God and how God led him and helped him. Today I want to leave you with a question. And that question is what are you living for? Are you living to sort of maybe like Gideon, build something for yourself? Or are you living a life like Jesus, of serving, of making a difference? Not to build anything for yourself, but to give all glory and honor to him.